The Metropolitan Police has picked a fight with one of Britain's oldest and most controversial private networks. In December, the Met introduced a disclosure policy requiring officers and staff to declare past or present membership in secretive hierarchical organisations, and it explicitly included Freemasonry. Welcome to the Pulse, the beat at the heart of England. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to support our work. The Met has said this is about trust. It has said policing cannot afford hidden loyalties, whether they're real, imagined, or simply suspected by the public. The Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, has argued there should be no opportunity for secret loyalties in policing, especially if they might influence investigations, discipline, or promotions. This did not come out of nowhere. Inside the Met, an internal survey found about 2/3 of respondents believed membership in groups like the Freemasons affects public perception of police impartiality and trust. Even if that survey only reflects those who chose to respond, the core point stands. A lot of people inside the organisation think the optics matter, and optics are part of legitimacy in policing. The policy also followed years of pressure after the Daniel Morgan case. Morgan was a private investigator murdered in 1987, and the case became a symbol of corruption, allegations, failed investigations, and institutional damage. A 2021 independent panel recommended that officers should be required to declare Freemasonry membership, describing such affiliations as a recurring source of suspicion and mistrust around the unsolved case. That recommendation sat there for years. In 2025, the Met acted. The Met's position has been simple. Officers can join lawful groups, but if a group has confidential membership and internal expectations of mutual support and protection, the Met wants it disclosed. The stated purpose is conflict management, not a ban, a requirement that allows the organisation to identify potential risks and reassure the public that decisions are not being quietly guided by fraternal ties. Freemasonry's leadership has not taken this quietly. The United Grand Lodge of England, the main governing body for Freemasonry in England and Wales, accused the Met of impugning its members' integrity. UGLE has sought a judicial review to block the policy. Its argument is that the requirement breaches rights to privacy and association. It also argues Freemasons are too small a minority inside the Met to exert improper influence, with reporting that around 440 officers out of more than 32,000 are Freemasons. So this becomes a clash of principles. The Met has said transparency protects integrity. UGLE has said this is discriminatory and unnecessary. To understand why this exploded again, you have to understand the history, because this is not the first time Britain tried to drag Freemasonry into the daylight. In the late 90s, the issue hit Parliament in a serious way. A Home Affairs Committee inquiry examined Freemasonry in the police and the judiciary. It did not claim it had proved a grand hidden plot running the country, but it did underline the basic problem: secrecy plus public power equals suspicion, and suspicion alone can corrode confidence in courts and policing. The committee pushed for transparency. Its recommended fix was registration, including calls for police, judges, prosecutors, and others in the justice system to register membership of secret societies with public access to those records. The government moved in that direction. Declarations were required for new appointees in parts of the system. Then reality kicked in. Disclosure was largely self-policed. It applied mainly to new entrants, not everyone already in post. Compliance was patchy. Some refused to respond. Some forces did not set up registers at all. And over time, the whole thing lost momentum. By 2009, the push had largely collapsed. A ministerial decision scrapped the requirement for judges to declare Masonic membership, with the stated position that the policy was disproportionate and had not produced evidence of impropriety by Masonic judges. After that, the wider system stopped asking in many places. The result was predictable. The question did not die, it just stopped being officially measured. That matters because Freemasonry is not just another social club in the public imagination. It has a specified brand, secret rituals, closed meetings, symbols everywhere, a hierarchical structure, and an internal culture of brotherhood, mutual support, and obligation. Freemasons have said their secrets are ceremonial, not criminal. Critics have replied that secrecy is not neutral when members hold public power. In policing, the core fear is conflict of interest, not necessarily a cash bribe, more subtle, favoritism, quiet career lifts, a softer disciplinary outcome, an investigative decision that just happens to benefit a brother, and if you cannot see the network, you cannot easily disprove it. This is where the famous oaths and rituals come in. Some initiation wording, as it has been historically reported and reproduced, is extreme in tone. It is often described as symbolic, but symbolic or not, outsiders hear it and think, why is a police officer swearing any kind of extra loyalty anywhere to anyone? Then you have the basic mechanics. Freemasonry has a recognition signs, private lodge culture, a built-in social network. That's not automatically sinister, but in a police force, networks become power. The Met has effectively said we are not claiming every Mason is corrupt. We're saying secrecy creates a credibility problem, and credibility is the currency policing runs on. And then there are the scandals, because the paranoia did not grow in a vacuum. One of the earliest big public shocks was the obscene publication squad corruption scandal in the 1970s, often described as the Dirty Squad. Officers were convicted of taking bribes connected to pornography enforcement. Reporting and commentary around the scandal has long highlighted Masonic membership among those convicted and the wider perception of an internal clique operating inside the force. In the West Midlands in the 1980s, the Serious Crime Squad was disbanded after extensive allegations of misconduct, including evidence issues and abusive practices. That era fed a broader belief in firms within a firm, whether defined by unique culture, personal loyalties, or private investigations. In that context, claims about Masonic clustering inside specialist policing landed on fertile ground. Then you have Daniel Morgan. The case is a lightning rod, multiple inquiries, endless frustration, and the 2021 panel's conclusion that the Met's handling of the case amounted to institutional corruption. The panel also flagged Freemasonry as a recurring source of suspicion and mistrust, in part because Masonic ties appeared among figures connected to the case. Whether that proves cause in any single decision is a different question, but the reputational effect is obvious. When the public already suspects cover-up, any internal fraternal links make the suspicion louder. You also have the brinks-mat era, where reporting described criminals referencing Masonic signals and alleging lodge links with police figures. Even if a criminal is boasting, it still tells you something important. Criminals believed that the brand had value. They believed the handshake meant leverage. And there was Operation Countryman, an outside investigation into corruption which became infamous for obstruction and limited outcomes. Later commentary argued that Freemasonry was part of the wider ecosystem of mutual protection used by bent officers, and that corrupt officers and criminals sometimes belonged to the same lodges. These claims are contested and hard proof is often elusive, but the pattern is what sticks: repeated major scandals, repeated whispers of closed networks. That is the central tension. Freemasonry may be innocent in many cases, but secrecy makes it harder to prove innocence. And policing, unlike most jobs, cannot rely on trust us. UGLE has argued the Met is feeding moral panic, punishing people for lawful association, and effectively endorsing conspiracy thinking. It has pointed to rights and proportionality. It has also pointed to numbers, saying the percentage is too small to matter. The Met's counter has been numbers are not the point, perception is, and one compromised investigation can poison public confidence far beyond London. There's also a legal and human rights shadow hanging over this. Previous European human rights litigation in Europe has been cited in debate about forced disclosure efforts elsewhere, and the broader principle is familiar. The state interfering with private association needs strong justification, so the Met has been positioning this as a proportionate integrity measure for a coercive public power, not an ideological attack on private fraternity. And that is where the story becomes bigger than Freemasonry. It's about what policing is allowed to demand from the people who wield state power. Police can stop people in the street, they can arrest, they can take liberty, they can gather evidence that changes the course of a life. That power has a price, and that price is scrutiny. The Met has bet that disclosure will reduce the background noise of suspicion, that it will protect honest officers who are members by removing the secret part that fuels the nastiest allegations, and that it will give the organisation an early warning system for conflicts or for patterns of favouritism, if they exist. UGLE has bet the opposite. It has argued disclosure stigmatises members, legitimises the idea that the Masons are a problem, and breaches basic rights for no proven gain. So the public is left with an uncomfortable reality. It's entirely possible many Freemason officers are decent people who joined for social life, tradition, or charity. It is also entirely possible that secrecy has, at some points in history, been used as a shield by the worst people in positions of trust. Those two things can both be true, and that is why this argument never dies. If this policy survives legal challenge, pressure will spread, other forces will be asked why they do not do the same, and it will feed wider calls for stronger candour expectations in policing, especially after major failures and inquiries. If the policy is struck down, the Met will still have a problem, not only a legal loss, a credibility problem, because suspicion will not vanish, it will simply harden into the Met tried and someone stopped them, and then the story turns darker fast. Either way, the Met has forced the question back into the open. Should the public have the right to know whether the people policing them belong to private organisations built around internal loyalty, or does that cross the line into policing people's private lives? Now, I want your views in the comment section. Should Freemasons in the police have to declare membership? Yes or no, and why? Do you think this is a sensible integrity measure or a rights breach dressed up as reform? And if you think the Met is right, should this apply across every UK force and the wider justice system too? If you like the video, please like and subscribe.